Greetings, healer. Welcome to Healing Highs with Lara, where we talk about the highlights and the serendipitous moments of our healing journeys. I want to elaborate a little bit more on what that means since this is our first podcast. I find healing absolutely fascinating, whether it's hearing someone's experience, reading about it. When I was young, it was like ghost stories and people going to mediums and doing tarot card readings in high school. And then when I was older, starting my own healing journey and realizing the things I'd experienced throughout my life of being a healer. And all of that just captivates me. I love hearing your stories, my students' stories. So I wanted to have this podcast be where we can share those experiences and share those experiences with anyone who wants to listen. So I know there's a lot of opinions around how to heal and what are the best ways of healing, the right way, the wrong way. And ultimately, I just want this to be a space where we're discussing our experiences, whether it's from very simple moments that became important to profound moments to what I love to call intentional serendipity. Intentional serendipity, how I view that is, excuse me, we are on a healing journey. And so because of that, our energy is shifting. We are making changes in us and around us, and it makes for these coincidental moments possible. And they aren't coincidences, and we know that, we've experienced that. They are serendipitous, but they are very intentional because we are making these changes happen and making them possible. So I love that idea. I love hearing when somebody wants to tell me about those moments happening for them. So I want to share one with you today, and I want to have a space to hear yours. So before I tell you a story that I found very validating on my healing journey, I want to take us through a meditation. So if you want to join me and you're in a safe space where you can close your eyes, go ahead and do that. Or you can pick something to focus on, have a very soft gaze on. But if you're driving, please don't. Just keep driving, do this later. So if you're ready, go ahead and close your eyes. Close your eyes. And I want you to become aware of the air around you, the air, how it feels on your skin, on your face. And I want you to center your energy in your heart. And I want you to think about somebody, whether it's a person or an animal, that you love so much. And when you think of them, where do you feel it in your body, and what do you feel? Just tune into the different parts of you and how they experience that expansive feeling of love. Now I want you to imagine this feeling starting to grow so that it's filling up every part of you, down through your legs to your toes and all the way up through your body to the top of your head. And then imagine that feeling is now expanding outside of you so that it's completely enveloped you. You are this loving energy, and it also surrounds you. And just observe how that feels, what that might look like in your mind's eye. And really breathe that feeling into your lungs. And whenever you're ready, you can blink your eyes open. All right, so I want to share with you a story that was really important for me in the beginning of my commitment to a healing journey. I was in college. This was 23, 24 years ago. I was given a book, and I was on a break in school where I had the space to read this book, and I loved it because it was talking to me about all aspects of being a healer, being a light worker, giving me definitions of things I had experienced my whole life, but I just was experiencing them. I wasn't taking them to mean, oh, I'm a psychic. Oh, I can do these things. Or I understand energy. I just was existing and having these experiences. So this book was really helpful to me because it was explaining to me what I had experienced, what I was thinking about, and what that could possibly mean. But in the process of reading this book, it was a very detailed, very long book. I was doubting, like, me? Like, am I a light worker? Am I a healer? Is this real? And I got to this section where it said, explaining to you what energy feels like. And I'd experienced that, but I, again, was doubting, like, did I experience it? Do I know? I think what they're explaining is what I've experienced, but I was really, really in this place of doubt. And I was sitting there with my boyfriend at the time, and I said, okay, I'm going to do what this book says. So we're supposed to put my hands together, take a moment, and start to feel like anything happening between my hands. And then put my hand and his hand like an inch apart. And then just have this space to feel the energy moving between us. And I did everything the book said, and I was waiting for that feeling I'd felt other times to come, and it didn't. So it just fed into the doubt. And I was disappointed. And I thought, I learn best, not necessarily by reading or having someone explain something to me, but I learn best by being shown this is what this is. And so I said to my boyfriend at the time, I said, I just wish someone would walk up to me and put their hand out in front of me and say, this is what energy feels like. So I could have confirmation, validation. This is it. I have felt that before. And all of this is real. And I can let go of this doubt. So, we go to sleep. The next day happens. And I go to work that night. And I'm standing at my job. It's, kind of busy, not too bad. So I had some time to kind of hang around and people watch. And this woman was there with these two men, and they were hanging out, playing a game. And she kind of just looks at me and walks over to me, and we chat for just a second. And she says, have you ever felt energy before? And I say, no. And she says, oh, okay, put your hands together. And now put your hand out. And she put her hand right in front of mine, just like how the book said. And I felt that feeling. I felt exactly that feeling that I had felt all these other times that I was looking for the night before. And she says, do you feel that? And I said, yes. And she said, that's energy. And I was just astonished. I didn't even say anything to her like, oh my gosh, I asked for this. I couldn't say anything. And she just kind of chatted at me because I was in my body, just stunned. And she said a couple other things, and she was like, that's what it feels like. And, you know, that's it, you know? And so then she went back to her group and they left. And then I kind of came to myself and was like, wait a minute, I want to tell her I wanted that. I made that happen, I guess. And I ran out of where I worked. And in this area of where I worked, there's really only one way that I could have found her, and they were nowhere to be found. I never saw her again. I worked there for 3 years and never saw her again. And I went home and I told my boyfriend at the time, oh my gosh, do you remember last night I said, I just want somebody to walk up to me and say, this is what energy feels like. That happened. She literally did exactly what I asked for. And it felt so validating because, one, create an intention, speak it in a very detached way, right? Like I wasn't holding on to the outcome of that. I just said it and let it go. And then to think like, did I manifest that? Did I receive that? Was I, like all the things, like I was in a space to create that to happen. And what does that mean for me now? Because here I am this whole time reading this book thinking, can I do these things? I think I can. Maybe not. And then here is like such validation, right? Like I spoke it into the universe and it happened. So for me, that was absolutely a serendipitous moment. And it seemed so simple and it took a few seconds, but it was absolutely so profound for me and helped me to build upon that moment from that point forward. Then I was able to like look at what other things do I want to do with this and what can I do and how can I go internal on this journey to figure out what else I've experienced over my lifetime and what can I do with this to help other people. So, that kind of was the start of how I got really focused and disciplined in healing myself and becoming a healer. And that's a question I get a lot. How can I start? How can I start my healing journey? How can I recommit to my healing journey? There's, again, like no right or wrong way. And it's different for everyone. Some people are going to be able to jump into something as deep as a healing retreat, doing plant medicine, to literally just the meditation we did earlier, trying to do that once a week. It took a few minutes. You can start a gratitude practice. With a gratitude practice, we're all kind of thinking like, oh, I got to write 10 things down that I'm grateful for. And that's perfect. You can do that. But you also, just while you're driving and doing nothing usually, you can think of all the things you're grateful for. And that's a shift in your energy. You can find free 5-minute guided meditations on YouTube. You can schedule a energy healing session. You can go to a sound bath. It can be as simple to more complex, free to a cost, whatever works for you. And whatever you start with, it's going to lead you to the next thing. It's going to lead you to listening internally and going, oh, this is what I'm guided to do from this next place. So, those are some ideas that I give people depending on where they're at and what they're capable of in their life at that moment. So hopefully that maybe can help you. But I do also like to point out something like you have a compass inside you for different things. And I like to follow the joy compass. So what is bringing me joy? And keep following that to the next thing that's bringing me joy. And a real authentic joy. One that's not like fabricated or full of substance, but just your true authentic joy. What brings you joy? What brings you playfulness, happiness? And keep doing those things, right? If it actually, the first few times I meditated, I could tell I was getting high off of it. I mean, there's not a better way for me to put that at this moment, but it literally was making me giddy. It was making me feel hyper afterwards, but also grounded at the same time. I was having these moments in meditation where I was like spinning or feeling my body expand and shrink. Like so many things were happening, and I could tell how playful it was. And I just thought in the beginning, like, wow, there is so much more here that's possible, and it's so fun to figure out. So I was moving into that space of joy and continuing to follow that as a guide. So it's an idea. Maybe that's helpful for you. So I want to keep today short, just as our introductory first podcast. And, you know, we'll have different people on and we'll talk about different experiences, and I'll share more. But I want to end with something where I am going to ask a question to the void. So I have the void here, and the void is going to share the void's personal experience. Disclaimer, it's not the void. It's a, you know, like humans, like we're all connected, but we have our own personal experiences. And the void is going to share their experience. So the void, can you hear me?
Yes.
My possibly very simple question to complex question, I don't know, is what is your sustenance?
Chocolate.
Follow-up question, how do you process chocolate?
Through my mouth.
Okay, there you go, you guys. We're tapping into any those kinds of joy and silliness that we can. So thank you, healers, for joining me. And I wish you joy and serendipity on your healing journey. And I hope our paths cross again.